All right, quick video today on how to fix exhaust manifolds on an old marine engine. Now, obviously, there's a lot of risk to doing this. This particular boat I'm working on is for a friend. It's like 1966, and the exhaust manifold was leaking water into the cylinder through one of the gaskets over here because there was a lot of corrosion on the surface where it mates. Now, one side has a cap that goes on like this, so the water goes basically in on one side and comes back the other. And so what I did is I sandblasted the surfaces to give them a nice rough finish, and then applied JB Weld to the surface, just a thin coat, and then used a nice machine surface. And once the JB Weld is dry, just gently work. I got 100 grit to start to take the most roughest, like the high spots out. And then I'll move down to 400 just to finish it off. But JB Weld will hold up to, I believe, like 600 Fahrenheit. And these exhaust manifolds are continuously circulating raw water from the lake. So they normally sit around no higher than 200 Fahrenheit. So this, in theory, should hold, but it has to be done right. And really, the only way you'll really get really good adhesion on these surfaces is by really roughing them up with a good sandblast, then applying a thin coat. And then it's really important to work the piece on a machine surface. Some people do this with a nice straight piece of glass. It'd be thick glass, could do the job. Or I've seen it done on a table saw. If you're confident, it seems like some of these older table saws have nice thick decks. If you check it with a straight edge and it seems to be very, very straight, you could use that as well. I had this nice block of steel. This is like, I think it's 3/4 or an inch thick block of steel that's been machined, and it's fairly straight as well. And obviously when I'm finished with this, I'll be putting on a gasket with a little bit of gasket maker has extra insurance, and I'll be reopening these holes. I'll show you in a bit the finished product, but I just got done doing this cap and I'm like really impressed at how straight the surface is after doing this. I've done this a long time ago, but decided, like, you know, since this is basically a trash engine, they don't want to invest a lot of money, and I'd say I'd give them a hand and help them fix the manifold so they just get like 1 or 2 seasons out of it. So that is the goal here. We don't want this, you know, it's like a $1,000 boat, and they don't want to be putting in the engine is cracked also, and the block, I mean, and that's also getting a temporary repair on the block and a temporary repair on the manifolds. So, you know, I wouldn't go venturing off into deep waters with this boat, but just for bombing around a lake, it, you know, maybe it's worth the risk. It's some young guys just bought a boat and I'm helping them out. So we'll see how this goes, and I'll show you the finished results. And when you get to a big piece like this, obviously this thing is going to want to flop around as you're trying to sand the surface. You want to grab it at a low point. And what I did is I sort of give it a bit of a twisting motion. I can't do this with one hand here. Let me see if I can. Basically, I'll be twisting it back and forth, trying to hold the sandpaper. Twisting it back and forth, kind of like that. Paper being held steady, obviously. Just to get it started, get most of the rough surfaces off. As you can see, I'm just starting to get the high spots out right now. Once it starts to smooth out, it'll start to get easier and easier to sand it down. Now you can also tape your sandpaper down, and that will surely help. And then grab it from a low point and just work it in a circular motion. Well, that's how I do it anyway, and I find that is the way that gets it going the best. So you wouldn't want to go back and forth, because then it's just going to work grooves into your piece. You want to do a nice circular motion. The most important surface that you do not want to fail is the one which is right around here. If this fails, well, obviously you got water going into your engine. If this one fails, well, you just got a little bit of water leaking into the boat. No big deal. But you know, if the inside fails, you could have water leaking in your engine, and then water locking your engine and creating all kinds of problems. So obviously, well, what I'm going to do when I'm all done here, once I install the gaskets are cured, everything's tight, I will be water pressure testing this and off the engine, and making sure I have no water leaking into the combustion area. So that'll follow as well. I might show you that in a bit. Another important thing I forgot to mention is you keep a blowgun real close, and every time after about 20 seconds of sanding, you blow both surfaces clean, sandpaper and manifold. Every like 30 seconds of sanding, that keeps the crap from building up on the sandpaper, the dust, and the cleaner it is, the more effective it is, and quicker it is to get it cleaned up. So I forgot to mention. Now I'm like 50% of the way. As you can see, most of the surfaces are starting to get smooth. It's pretty obvious since they kind of turn white. And obviously we need to go down some more until everything is all the same color, uniform. And at that point, I can change sandpaper types and just give it a quick finish and clean up these holes, and we'll be done on this one. All right, so here's after the entire surface is basically all uniform straight. You can see here I blew through and it went to the metal, but the overall surface looks really straight. Might be a little bit missing, maybe there you could see here, but there's all this area here where that conceals, so I'm not too concerned about that little lump there. So there's no water passage over here. But this one, the most important one, is nice and wide and straight. And I'm about to call that good, and I'll get going on the other side. But basically at this point I'll show you guys it. All right, now I sanded all my surfaces, but I realized that I don't think I'll ever get through on this one and it actually being straight, so I'll have to reapply, and I'll actually probably cover the whole entire area again so that I cover this little spot. And also on this one, kind of the same scenario, where I don't like I feel it's a little too thin over here. So, and you can see how I've already starting to hit the metal everywhere, almost all around. So this is a high spot, that's a high spot, and that's a high spot. But you know, these are a lot harder than the JB Weld. So if I want this to be even, I'll have to reapply another coat and give it another go, and hopefully there'll be enough thickness next time over here, same as this one over here. The other one looks good, so I've got a total of 4 surfaces I did this to guarantee the, well, to give me a little more insurance. I basically did all of them. One was really bad. I believe it's this one, actually right there. That was the worst spot. You could really see it dip down in a corroded area here. But once this is all done, I'll show you guys again. But don't be afraid if you're trying something like this to redo it, because last thing you want is to go through all this work and have it fail. Just have to wait another 24 hours for it to cure. All right, so I just got done the second sanding down and on all the surfaces, and I cleaned up the passages. This is one of the two that will have studs, so I tapped the retapped the holes. Let's have a look on the other side. This is the one that I had to just redo. And as you can see now, we have pretty much uniform surfaces all around. All the holes have been cleaned up a little bit, retapped. Let's take a look at the elbow. Got the elbow over here. This one, I had to go down. There's even a little scratch left over here, but I decided to let that one pass. I think it's the gasket and the gasket maker should take care of that. But cleaned up the holes and the passages on that one as well. And the end cap. That's what it looks like. So now I'm gonna make some gaskets out of 1/16. I got this stuff here, Felpro. This is yeah, 1/16 thick. The 1/32 is very popular. This one is quite thick, and I think for this application maybe it's the best option. I might have been able to use the 1/32, and that might have been good as well, but I figure this one's gonna give it a little more cushion, and should be able to resist to the heat. Anytime you're wondering, by the way, if you can use JB Weld on something, my criteria for deciding if this is a good option or not is the type of gasket material that the surfaces around it are sitting on. So if the old gaskets were paper, well, there's a high chance that JB Weld will hold up to the temperatures, the same temperatures as that paper gasket will. If it's a metal gasket, well, it's probably, you know, higher temperatures than this stuff is able to resist. So, I mean, there's some applications where you'll have metal gaskets and areas which don't really get that hot, and you might still be able to use it, but that's kind of like my way of gauging it, and so that's how I decide if it's worth even trying or not. And this boat also will be used in freshwater. In saltwater applications, I'm not sure this repair would hold up very long at all, because it's such a corrosive environment. If you're already thin on your cast metal, you know, you might be able to get yourself out of an island somewhere using this technique, but for any, like, let's say you want to last a whole season, I'm not sure this is the best option. But for freshwater applications, this could last a very long time. And as you can see, there's also a hairline crack that I did a quick repair. I V-grooved the crack. Crack actually went all the way through the edge, and now everything's just blended in with the JB Weld. And this crack is on the water jacket on the outside, so if ever this opens up again, they'll see water leaking into the boat. But I pressure tested it, and it wasn't leaking cold, so we'll see if this holds up. I'm giving it a shot. So yeah, you know, like this boat is really in pretty bad shape and would require a bunch of new parts, but you know, you can do a cheap repair terribly and it really not last on. But if you really take your time and you roughen up the surface with a good sandblast, and you sand it down on the machine surface like I just did, you can actually make a cheap repair last a really long time if it's done properly. So that's what I'm trying to showcase here. Obviously, if you got the money and you don't have the time, you just change these manifolds if you could even get them. Like, I know that they sell an alternate one for this model that you can buy brand new, but really you'd have to change the pair, and these guys have no intention on spending that much money. It's like the price of the boat basically, because they paid around $1,200 for the boat, and 75% of that value is in the trailer. So there you go. So we'll see how this goes. They might get through 1 or 2 seasons with this, and I'll probably post an update below the video in the comments after a year, seeing if they had any problems on this, and just to let you know that it lasted. So next step is to make the gaskets. All right, quick tip. I'm tracing the gaskets here, and I'll show you what I do. So I got this piece to do right now. Trace the holes, take a piece of paper, hold it on there. See if I can do this one hand, and just take your hand, your dirty hand, and just rub the surface and put pressure where the holes are. Sorry, it's like difficult to hold this with one hand. But, I don't know if you can see, but it's starting to outline the holes. Right here I got like a hole. I'll probably redo this after shooting this video just to make sure I'm holding it straight, but when you got your 2 hands, it's a lot easier. But there you go, you see the outline of the passages, and all I got to do is continue on like this. Then the dirty side, you put that down onto the gasket, because that's going to be reversed on the other side. So I'll keep going around. It'll eventually mark everything. See that? Real simple. So I just cut it out with some scissors, and then gives me a perfect copy of what I need to trace on my gasket. All right, just done cutting it up. What's fun about making your own gaskets is you could sort of exaggerate the size, and especially if you know where it failed, you might have a tendency to do that more in certain areas. Now, I could have probably left this closed in, but I was afraid it'll just get too hot, so I cut it open. And yeah, so got to do another one here, and be ready to put all this back together in a minute. All right, just getting ready to put this on, and as you can see, I just smeared just a very thin coat of this high temp Permatex gasket maker. So this is just sort of give it a little, in case there's little imperfections, a little extra insurance in there. So I'm going to do this on both surfaces, and I'm putting this one on now. All right, here we are after the gasket install, and as you can see, just get a little bit of oozing, and it's all even all around. As you can imagine, be the same thing on the inside going on. Same thing on the front here. Just a little bit of oozing. I'm actually going to stick a boroscope in there in a minute and see what it looks like inside. But time for the water pressure test. All right, so this is my leak checking apparatus. So you can see the water's coming in here on this line, flowing through the manifold, looping around, coming back. This would normally be coming in from the stern drive, and then here it would go to the engine and come back. And so let that run for a little bit, and everything looks dry. So I'll let it go a little bit and call it good and put it back on the engine. All right, no job is done until we throw a quick coat of paint on there. She's looking pretty sweet. Now, anybody out there have their opinions on this, you know, as long as you stay respectful, I appreciate any opinions. Let me know in the comments. Would you install this on your boat or would you not? You know, given the circumstances of this particular boat, I don't mind. You know, answering questions also. You can always ask away. Again, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, whatever. We'll keep showing you guys some inventive fixing, as I've usually in the way of trying to save some people some money. Some people might say, oh, if you do this on a on a good motor, you might end up blowing your motor. Yes, that's true. You know, this is a boat valued at $200, you know, roughly. Trailer maybe is worth twice or 3 times the amount of the boat. So I don't mind trying this on this boat, but you know, let me know what you think.